Happy Monday, everyone. So today we're gonna do a little review of stuff that you guys learned last Thursday and Friday. This video, make sure I want you guys to watch it together as a class, and there's gonna be times where I'm asked the substitute teacher to make sure you pause it at certain times so that students can work on problems on their own, and then they can volunteer their answers before I go over my answers. So as a recap of adding and subtracting integers, we'll just talk about adding integers real quick. We did this before I left. So let's see. For example, I got -4 plus -7 versus a problem like -8 plus 5. Remember, if you got two numbers that are both negative or both positive, or like two numbers of the same sign, you just go ahead and add the two numbers together. 4 plus 7 is 11. But then you gotta make sure you put that negative there since they're both negative. So you guys are pretty good with that when I went over it before I left. And then when you're adding a negative and a positive, this is where they're going against each other. So you gotta do the bigger one, subtract the smaller one. So here I do 8, take away 5 is 3. But remember here, the bigger one, if you draw it out on the number line, the arrow is longer, right? So it takes you more to the negative side. So therefore, right here, you know the answer has to be negative since the bigger number was negative. Or you could say the number, the bigger absolute value was negative. Right, so just quick recap on that. Then for subtracting integers, I guess I should have said this earlier, but you guys do not have to write this down. I'll let you guys know when I do want you to write it down, though. And there'll be times where I'll have you guys turn in your notes also. So here, subtracting integers. This is the part where you guys kind of went over it without me. So I'm going to try to hopefully see if I can summarize it so that we can make sure that everybody understands it. So let's see. What the video that you guys saw kind of summed up was that subtracting numbers. Actually, this part I'm gonna have you guys write down. So go ahead and pause the video real quick. So give everyone a little bit of time to take out a line of paper to copy this down, so they can always refer to it as notes. All right, so hopefully everyone has a paper out. So subtracting numbers. Actually, fix that. It's just subtracting integers. Actually, okay. All right, let me fix this. Subtracting numbers is the same as adding. It's opposite. So that's the key statement to remember. Kind of doesn't make a ton of sense out of context, but if you look at some examples that we'll go over, it'll make a little more sense. So example 1, if I got 8 minus 15. Right? Again, I know some of you guys can kind of do this in your head, but there'll be times where the numbers are a little more difficult and there'll be some decimals and fractions thrown in there, as you guys saw on Friday. So doing it the way I go over it will make it a lot easier. So subtracting a number is the same as adding is the opposite. So right here, we're subtracting 15, right? You should know that subtracting 15 is the same as adding negative 15. So whenever I go over these problems, I'm going to rewrite my problems into an addition problem, just like we do there. And then now we're doing just what we did before that. We know how to add two numbers of different signs, right? You do the bigger one. Again, right here you're looking at the bigger one. You're no longer looking at this problem. But the bigger number is 15, right? So you do 15 take away 8 is 7. But since the number of the bigger absolute value was negative, the answer there is -7. Okay, so then that's an example 1. Let's example 2. So let's see, I got -6 minus -3. So let's think about what number we're subtracting here. We're subtracting -3, right? So looking at that statement again, it says subtracting a number is the same as adding its opposite. So subtracting 3 here is the same as, or subtracting -3 is the same as adding, what's the opposite of -3? +3, right? So subtracting a number is the same as adding its opposite. The opposite of -3 is +3. And the kind of shortcut that some students like to do is whenever they see this 2 negative signs next to each other with a parenthesis in the middle, just go ahead and you kind of go ahead and just make it like a big plus sign. So you see it looks just like that. So then from there, -6 plus 3. Again, now it's just like an addition problem we did earlier. See the bigger number, take away a smaller. 6 take away 3 is 3. The bigger number is negatives, so the answer is going to be negative. So that's how you do that. So hopefully you guys got a solid understanding if you didn't have one already. So let's see. For the next part, I want you guys to actually take out that homework page. I'm not sure exactly what page. It was lesson 5, problem set. I'm just going to quickly just go over these answers, make sure you guys can kind of check it and see if you got the same answers or not, because this whole subtracting negatives is really important for you guys to understand. You guys will have a quiz at the end of the week, so keep that in mind. So again, for all these problems right here, it says write the following expressions as a single integer. That part kind of sounds confusing, but it's basically just write the answer as a one single number. So pretty much what's the answer? But since all these problems are subtraction, a lot of you guys probably on the homework just wrote down the answers. If you did that already, that's okay, but I want you guys to add this part in. We're going to rewrite them as subtraction problems. So -2 plus 16 is the same as -2. Actually, sorry. With addition, we don't change that. Not bad. If it's an addition problem, we do what we talked about. We do the bigger absolute value, which is 16, take away the smaller one, which is 2. 16 take away 2 is 14. Since the big one is positive, it stays positive. Once you get down to these 4 problems, you notice they're subtraction. So we got to go ahead and rewrite them as an addition problem. So the second one, -2 right here, subtracting -16. We always leave that first number alone. Some students like to change that first number, but that will get you a wrong answer. So make sure you always leave the first number alone. So -2, subtracting -16 is the same as adding +16. The example I like to use for that one is if like a negative number represents debt, right? But you're subtracting a debt. So you're taking away debt, the money you have actually goes up. So that's why right here, subtracting -16 is actually the same as adding +16. So taking away negative numbers is kind of getting rid of the bad stuff, which is kind of like the same as adding good stuff. And then there, it's just the same as the problem above. You get 14. Question C, I could rewrite this as -18. Right here, subtracting 26 is the same as adding. Oops, let's see if anybody caught my mistake. Hopefully some of you guys did. I changed that 18 to -18, right? I had just said we leave that first number alone, so I'll keep it as 18. Change to plus -26, because subtracting 26 is like adding -26. And here we do the bigger number, or bigger absolute value, which is 26, take away the smaller one, which is 8. But the bigger absolute value is negative, so our answer is going to be -8. Question D, same thing. Keep the first number the same. Subtracting 23 is the same as adding -23. And here you got two numbers that are both negative, right? Remember what we do there. You combine them. So 23 plus 14 is 37. Because they're both negative, it's like they're both going in the same direction. So you're going to make a bigger negative number. They work together, so that's why we add it. And it got to be negative because they're both negative. Last one here is kind of like B. Taking away a negative, it's like taking away bad stuff. It's kind of like you adding good stuff. Kind of like maybe say take away bad thoughts is kind of like the result of taking away a bad thought is you feel better. It's like the same as adding good thoughts. It makes you feel better. I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys. Hopefully it does. But so from here, taking away negative 45 is the same as adding positive 45. And like I kind of mentioned earlier, right here, if you want, you can kind of just make that a big plus sign. And it becomes 30 plus 45 is 75. All right. Let's see. Next part. We're looking at lesson 7, which I know you guys did on Friday, but today it's kind of just a review, kind of making sure you guys understood the last 2 days, because I know that maybe those videos you didn't understand it quite as well, so I just want to kind of hit the main points there so that you guys understand this and you guys can do well on the quiz at the end of the week. So I'm not sure exactly what page it is. I'll give you guys a few seconds to find it. It is lesson 7 though. So right here, if I were to try to, well, we're gonna do two things. We're gonna get the answer with the number line and then without it. But first, see this part here again. Subtracting negative 8 is the same as just adding a positive 8. So I'm gonna rewrite this as an addition problem. That's what we always want to do. Again, when we go over some of these problems, you guys go ahead and fix those if you didn't have that already. So I'm going on the number line. You start at 0, you go back 5.5. Then notice here we're in the middle, right? Then we're gonna go forward 8. So I'm gonna just kind of, before I draw a line, I'm kind of show us where we're at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Notice how we're in the middle, so each time we go over 1, we're still in the middle. And we go over 8, we'll end up right there in between 2 and 3. So our answer is 2.5. And then let's say we didn't want to use a number line and we want to try to solve that somewhat quickly. Right here, we're adding two numbers of different signs. Remember the rule there. You do the bigger absolute value, which is 8, take away the smaller one, 5.5. So you're basically doing 8, take away 5.5. Common mistake here, people are going to put 3.5 because 8 take away 5 is 3, and you got the half. But remember here, you're doing 8 take away 5 is 3, but you still got to take away another half, which gets you 2.5. That's why the answer there is 2.5. All right, next part. Let's see. Let me see which ones I think is the most beneficial to go over. All right, go over A and D real quick. Okay, make sure you guys are on that right page. We can pause the video real quick if people need to get there. I'm gonna do a quick number line. Actually, no, I'm not. We're just gonna solve it without it. So we got different signs, right? Same rules apply, even though we got some fractions and decimals here. You do the bigger one, which is 6. Take away 5.25. Here you do the whole numbers first. 6 take away 5 is 1. And you still got to take away a 4th, right? Right here, that 1, some of you guys can kind of know what the answer is in your head, but if I were to show my work and if you weren't sure, you could change that 1 to 4/4, because 4/4 is 1 whole. Take away 1/4 from that, it gets you 3/4. But that's not my final answer, right? You look back at the original problem, the bigger number was negative. So make sure you put negative as your answer there. Let's see. So we're gonna go over D, but before we do that, just a quick thing for C. Right there, you got two options. You either change that 2.5 to 2.5, or if you want, you can keep it at 2.5 and plus negative 0.5. Either way you do it, it should be pretty easy from there. But for D, right here, bigger number, take away the smaller number. Bigger absolute value, take away the smaller absolute value. Usually when I had a problem just like this, I could kind of just do it in my head, right? But when it comes with the fractions, it makes it a little more difficult. So it kind of helps you to write it out. So you do the bigger one, take away the smaller one. Right here, you got 4 wholes. You take away 1/4. Yes, this is another type of problem where somebody has to look at it and tell what the answer is. But if you're not sure, you could change that 4 wholes to 3 and 4/4. Because right here, 4/4 is 1 whole, right? Then you got 3 wholes. That makes 4 wholes, which is the same thing as this right here. The reason I put 3 and 4/4 is because then now you can easily subtract these two fractions. So you got 3 wholes still, and you got 4/4. Take away 1/4 is 3/4. So again, I know some of you guys already did this already, and you might be a little bored, but it's important you guys fully understand how to do it and know how to show your work on this, because there will be a quiz coming up. Let's see, moving on. Real quick, E, go over that really fast. Right here, we got that double subtraction sign, right? Subtracting -3 is the same as adding +3. Again, if you want to do that, just draw that, make it like a plus like that. So you got 3.5 there. Let's hit a few of these word problems. You guys had that problem set. Hopefully you guys all turn it in. If not, make sure you guys do that. And maybe if you need help, this will help you with that. So here's a create an equation and a number line diagram. I'll do this real quick. She owes her father $7 and she got paid $5.50. So remember, owing money is like negative, and she got paid. That means she earns $5.50. If I'm doing that here, well, let's do it. Show the number line also. Go back to -7, -6, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1. Then you go forward 5, right? Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5. You're going for 5.5. So you'd be at between -2 and -1. Remember, this is a trick one. What's between -2 and -1? -1.5 or -1.5. And again, let's say eventually you don't want to spend your time doing a number line. You do the bigger one, take away the smaller absolute value. So 7 take away 5.5 is 1.5, but again, the bigger one was negative, so it's -1.5. And if there's any time during this, someone has a question, and maybe someone else can answer, or the sub can answer it, make sure you guys pause, raise your hand, we can pause the video. You guys ask that question out. And feel free to shoot me an email if you have a really important question that you're a little confused on also. All right, let's see. B, at the start of the trip, a car's gas tank contains 12 gallons of gas. During the trip, the car consumes 10 and 1/8. So how much is left in the tank? So right here, pretty straightforward. You can do 10 here, or you could take away 10 and 1/8. Or you could do 12 take plus -10 and 1/8. Same thing, right? Subtracting a number is the same as adding a negative or adding its opposite. Let's see, 12 take away 10 is 2. take away 1/8 still. No, you got, some of you guys get 1 7/8 straight away. If not, remember that 2 can become 1 8/8, which is basically 2 here. You get 1 7/8. If you're doing the number line, right here, make sure you start at 0 and make sure you go to 12. I know it says you got 12. But we always want to draw that first arrow to that first number, and then you go back 10 1/8. All right. Make sure if you didn't finish writing that down or add that in, we could pause the video and you guys finish copying that down. All right, last one here. C. A fish was swimming 3.5 feet below the water. 4 hours later, the fish was at a depth of 5 1/4 where it was at 7 a.m. What rational number represents the position of the fish in respect to the surface of the water at 11 a.m.? So if it was 3 1/4 or 3.5 feet below, put -3.5. And it says it's 5 1/4 below of where it was before, right? So that means it's going down more. So you're adding a negative like that. Or again, if you wrote -3.5, subtract 5 1/4, you can also. Just make sure you get the same answer here. Right here, if I'm adding two mixed numbers, a couple ways you could do it. You could turn to improper fractions and then get a common denominator. Certain times you could, here I can just times this top and bottom by 2. I get -3 2/4 plus -5 1/4. You can add the two whole numbers, get -8. 2/4 and 1/4 is 3/4. So that's your answer there. This one would make sense to do a vertical number line. Go down, and then go down even more. Make sure you put the numbers there, unlike what I did though. All right, so give you guys a second to kind of finish having all that down and absorb all that information. All right, so we still got a good amount of time. Now we're gonna hit something different or something new, I guess. Let you guys go to lesson 8 in your module. Give you guys a few seconds to get there. And actually take out a line paper while you're doing. Actually, you don't gotta take out a new line paper. If you had that line paper earlier where you took down some notes, would you guys go ahead and copy down this problem? Copy down that problem, and you're gonna try to get the answer to it. It's kind of like the other problems we just did, but here it's a little harder or a little different because it has 3 numbers, right? So what I'm gonna have you guys do, I'm gonna have to pause the video, give you guys about 5 or 6 minutes to work on it, or depending on, maybe we should try to see if we can get a handful of people get it. Maybe at least 10 people can get the answer, and they want to share with the class in front of everyone. That'd be awesome. Yeah, work on that, and then I'll go over the answer in a little bit. So make sure you guys pause that video. All right, so hopefully some of you guys were able to get the answer here. Just so you guys know, some of you guys probably solved it a different way and got the right answer from the way I'm doing it. That's fine, as long as you guys get the same answer. I might go over one way that might be a little easier or shorter. If you think yours is better, that's fine. As long as you show your work and get the right answer. So for this problem here, what we always want to do now is change my subtraction to adding its opposite. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this. Instead of -2/7, I'll write it as plus -2/7. Now that's all addition. I want you guys to remember that when you're adding numbers, it doesn't matter which order you're adding, right? So here I could actually go ahead and add these two together first. Because if you got negative 13 5/7 and you add another negative 2/7, that will get you like negative 13 7/7, right? Which is basically just negative 14. So these two together makes negative 14. Then you got to bring down that 6. And from there, you can just add, well, it gets pretty easy from there, right? Negative 14 plus 6 will get you negative 8. So again, if you guys did a little differently, that's okay, as long as you get an answer negative 8 and show your work. One thing actually I want to hit, and just take a step back, is what I can do is I can split this up to negative 13 and negative 5/7. A common mistake people would make is they break it apart to negative 13 and a positive 5/7. If you do that, you are going to get a wrong answer, so make sure you don't do that. If right here, the whole thing is negative, right? So you're just breaking it apart and so that they're both negative. And then if you do that here, you can see that this easily makes negative 1. And then here you can do negative 13 plus 1 is negative 14 plus 6, negative 8. I know that's a little more work, but it kind of makes it a little more clear for some of you guys. So I'll give you guys a few seconds to write that down if you need to. Okay, so now in your module here, you see the learning target, it says, I can rewrite negative mixed numbers to add or subtract them. And that's kind of what we did a little bit. So before we look at the problem on the front page, I'll take a look at this page right here. So let's see. Yeah, we're going to go over part of this first, then we'll go back one page. So here it says, rewrite each mixed number as a sum of two signed numbers. So right here, basically what we kind of did in the other problem is we're breaking apart the mixed number. This is like this. If you want to add these two together, if you want to add basically if you're breaking apart a mixed number, just break apart the whole number with a fraction, but that negative goes for everything. So make sure when you break it apart, they're both negative. Same thing right here. Make sure they're both negative. Make sure you do not do this, like I said earlier. That's the most common mistake, so I just want to hit that. Make sure you guys know what the most common mistakes are, so you know to not make those. And right here, if I got 8 and 11/12, break that apart. 8 plus 11 over 12. Again, that one's positive, so they're both going to break up to be positive. All right, real quick, I want you guys to try to hit this problem here then, or these three. It's the opposite. It's rewrite each number as a mixed number. Give you guys a minute, so probably pause the video for just a quick minute. The students can put their answers down. All right, so let's just go over this real quick. Right here, basically you could just combine it by putting just putting them next to each other, right? Make it a mixed number. But since they're both negative, you gotta make a negative number there. Right here, they're both positive, you make both positive. Keep in mind, it only works if they're both the same sign, right? If they're both negative, you're gonna get negative. If they're both positive, you're gonna get positive. If they're both negative, you just combine it, make it bigger, put them next to each other. It would not work if you do this, right? That's gonna get a different answer. All right, so with that in mind, and that strategy in mind, I'm gonna have you guys go back one page or maybe go back 2 pages. You're back at the bottom of the front of lesson 8. So give you guys a second to find that page. I don't have the page right in front of me, but at the bottom of the front page of lesson 8. I might be wrong, but hopefully I'm not. So pause the video. Give you guys do the same thing. See, let's try to get the answer right now. Make sure you show your work. I should not just see an answer like that. Make sure there's some work there to get to that answer. All right, so right here, notice I'm at the bottom of the front. So hopefully by now, the video is paused to give you guys a chance to try to do it on your own, and more people were able to get the answer this time. So first step again, that's subtracting 3/5. I'm gonna change it to plus negative 3/5, right? Taking away 3/5 is the same as adding a negative 3/5. If you just change it to plus 3/5, that's a completely different problem. It's going to get you a different answer, so make sure you change it to a negative. Here, some of you guys know you guys can combine those. I'm just going to break it apart like we did earlier, so it makes it a little more clear, so everyone can understand it. You have to combine those two, right? Negative 2/5 and negative 3/5 makes negative 5/5, which is just negative 1. Right there, I don't have to write that parenthesis for the negative 2 since it's the first number, but if you did, that's fine. Here, negative 2 and negative 1 makes negative 3. You have 3 and a 4th here. You should know here, basically, remember, negative 3 and positive 3 are additive inverses, so you add them and they'll cancel each other out. They just make 0. You kind of just cross those out. And all I got left is that 3/4, right? Or that 1/4. So that's your answer for that. Hopefully a lot of you guys were able to get that answer. Alright, so if you guys got some time, I don't know how much time is left in class period. If you guys got some time, you guys go a couple pages forward. You only got to do exercise 4. Don't worry about exercise 5. This is a couple pages ahead of where you guys were just at. I'll make sure to try to get the page numbers down next time so it's easier, but I want you guys to work on that problem. If you don't finish it, just do it for homework. I don't know if I'm going to assign you guys homework. You guys will see in the Google Classroom. But that's going to be it for today. Have a good rest of your day, everybody. See you guys. Well, I won't see you guys. You guys will hear from me tomorrow. Bye, everyone.